great politics today because there's been a big win for the current administration. The world was in shambles. The United States, the mainstream media, using their typical scare tactics to actually scare the American people. You got protesters, you got Democratic congressmen and women and senators online going on the news channels and scaring the world about these tariffs. Okay. And in the midnight hour, Trump gets the biggest win in his second week. Actually, his third office, a huge win because China and Mexico have literally bowed down and kissed the ring. Now, in all of the conversations that went on, all of the press conference by the Prime Minister of Canada, the President of Mexico, after it's all said and done, they literally folded. So this is chess, not checkers. When it comes to American politics, this is why I do what I do, because there has to be something that's making sense of what's going on. Because if we relied on mainstream media, if we relied on, the television station and news outlets and all of that, we would be hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, and we will continue to run amok. But America is a great nation. And finally, we have some American people that's willing to go to bat, for any administration that's in office. So for me, it has to make sense. So if it's making sense to me, sector, then I got to come out publicly and make it make sense. Now, in layman's terms, the United States was going to put tariffs on Mexico as well as Canada. Okay. That was the talking point. But when we did a research and took a little deep dive, this is something that the Biden and Harris administration had put into play because the Mexican border and the Canadian border is literally a threat at this point to the national security of the United States of America. And one would ask, how can they, this tariffs have anything to do with the threat of national security? Because this is where the illegal drugs, the fentanyl comes from. And this is why China was hit with a 10% tariff today. And we'll get to that a little later. But we want to talk about what's the main purpose and the reasoning why the tariffs were going to go or were to come into fruition is because of national security. Now, regardless of the press conferences that you witnessed or watched on television, the Prime Minister of Canada talking this and talking that, he literally folded, and the Mexican president folded as well, because a part of the agreement that the Biden administration literally tried to put in was to add something to help with the distribution or fentanyl entering the United States of America. So, we're living in days and times where we're connected. We're not 3 degrees of separation away. We're just literally a half a degree, because I'm on the White House government website. The link was sent to me. And when you talk about the tariffs, the talking point on the White House websites is fact sheet that President Donald J. Trump imposes tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, which Mexico folded. We'll get into that. And China. It's dated February 1st. OK. And the first paragraph, the heading of the paragraph reads, addressing an emergency situation. OK, the extraordinary threat posed by aliens and drugs, including deadly fentanyl, constitutes a national emergency under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Think about this. These terrorists was pretty much America's power to pretty much get them to fight for America to stop the influx of fentanyl into this country. Now, according to the White House website, until the crisis is alleviated, President Trump implementing a 25% additional tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, and a 10% additional tariff on imports from China. Now, energy resources from Canada will have a lower tariff of 10%, which makes sense because we get a lot of petroleum and a lot of oil from Canada. Now, President Trump is taking he took a bold action to hold Mexico and China accountable to their promises of halting illegal immigration, which, the prior administration dropped the ball, and stopping the poisonous fentanyl and other drugs from flowing into our country. We know without a shadow of a doubt, Mexico, we don't think about the Canadian border, but clearly they had a lot to do with the influx of fentanyl into this country. So this was a threat to national security. So the orders made clear that the flow of this contraband drugs like fentanyl to the United States through illicit distribution networks has created a national emergency. This is America, a national emergency, including a public health crisis. Now, Chinese officials have failed to take the actions necessary to stem the flow of these precursor chemicals to known cartels, to shut down the money laundering by transnational criminal organizations. Now, in addition, the trafficking organizations have an intolerable alliance with the government of Mexico. So they literally work with the government of Mexico. Now, the government of Mexico has afforded funds for the cartels to engage in manufacturing and the transportation of dangerous narcotics, which collectively have led to the overdose deaths of hundreds of thousands of American victims. This alliance endangers the security of the United States, and we must eradicate the influx of these dangerous cartels. I don't think any American citizen has a problem with that. Now, there is also a growing growing of Mexican cartels operating fentanyl and the illicit drugs in Canada. Now, the recent study recognized Canada's heightened domestic production of fentanyl and its growing footprint within narcotics distribution. So when you talk about Canada, Canada is manufacturing the fentanyl drugs in Canada and allowing it to flow through our northern border into America. Now, think about how the drug game works. There's a lot of money that's being transferred when it comes to the drugs. Remember the IRA Contra scandal and the cocaine and all that on during the Reagan era. Finally, we have an administration that understands that this is something that we can't do if we want this country to get better. And, being in the form of Trump's publicists to make America great. And we'll debate if it ever was great before. Now, using our leverage to ensure American safety. Now, when I watched the news, I didn't see anything talking about using this as leverage. All was scare tactics, and all I saw was, the officials basically saying that we're going to be paying high prices and it's going to backfire on us and it's going to hurt the American. And I'm sitting back saying, wait a minute, let's get to this. This is why, if we're going to be one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, then there's going to have to be a sovereign group of people that's not Republican or Democrats that's going to set the record straight for the people. And my goal today. OK, and it is my goal moving forward as well. And the Trump administration was going to get an invoice from me for doing this, because it's literally me acting as a publicist for the nation, because they don't really, come back and tell us what they really mean. They just let media go ahead and spin it. Now, and I'm reading this, using our leverage. OK, using our leverage to ensure Americans' safety. Now, the federal government is using leverage to protect the United States of America. No one has a problem with that. OK, no one has a problem with that. And it reads, the previous failed to fully leverage America's economic mission as a tool to secure the borders against illegal immigration and combat the scourge of fentanyl, preferring to the problems. OK, and we see that the problem has festered. Now, access to America's market is a privilege. OK, to have access to the American market is a privilege. Now, the United States have one of the most open economies in the world and the lowest average tariff rates in the world. And when we sit back and say tariffs, you guys don't understand that it's a tax. OK, and we will talk about tariffs attacks and how the media words things because it's confusing. Now, while trade accounts to for 67% of Canada's GDP, our trading with Canada is 67% of their GDP. So more than half of their GDP, their domestic products, comes from America. Okay, so we have a little power and a little leverage. So while trade accounts for 67% of Canada's GDP, 73% of Mexico's GDP, and catch this, a 37% of GDPs. And now it only accounts, all of that combined, only accounts for only 24% of the United States GDP. Now, however, in 2023, the United States trade deficit goods was the world's largest at over 1 trillion. See, these are the facts that we need to know. Okay. Who's playing who? Now, tariffs are a powerful, proven source of leverage. Okay. Keep that in mind, of leverage for protecting the national interest. President Trump is using the tool at hand and taking decisive action that puts America's safety and our national first. Okay, and one of his strongest organizations is America First, and I will be partnering up with Community First, but we'll talk about that down the road. Now, through the previous administration, though the previous administration have failed to leverage America's combination of expeditional strength and its unique role in the world trade to advance the security interests of the American people. Now, President Trump has not. Okay, he's used leverage because I'm telling you, these were something, he didn't just come up with this. Biden administration proposed this, but he's implementing it. Okay, now you talk about change. Okay, change is a, from a verb perspective, action word. So Trump is taking action when the prior administrations, the Harris Biden administration, it was just a thing. Okay, now President Trump is keeping his promise to stop the flood of illegal aliens and drugs. And we know without a doubt because, you got ICE running rampant. But the media is making it seem like they're just rounding up individuals. We'll talk about, these down the road as well as time goes on and as time permits. Anything that I've read, they're picking up criminals. OK, so if you haven't committed any crimes, if you're not a part of the cartels, and the drugs and, money laundering and doing strange things, then you're OK for now. OK, because we got to figure this thing out. So President Trump is keeping his promise. He said he was going to do it. And a lot of times when people become president, they talk, but they don't implement or do anything. But this is experiencing the first time in our lives, a president who's actually is going to fulfill his campaign promises. And this why the constituents and the people are going to be the oversight for the president and make sure he does what he said to do, because America voted overwhelmingly for President Trump. And now he has to pretty much produce. So President Trump is keeping his promise to stop. Now, when voters voted overwhelmingly to elect Donald J. Trump as president, they gave him a mandate to seal the border. OK, you guys all heard and seen the Project 2025. And part of that was secure the borders. OK, and that's exactly what he is doing. Now, the Biden administration policies have fueled the worst border crisis in American history. OK, nobody will debate that. OK, more than 10 million illegal attempted to enter the United States under Biden's administration, including a rising number of Chinese nationals and people on the terror watch list. Can you believe that? OK, now this problem is not confined to the southern border. This is why Canada has got involved at the northern border with Canada are rising as well, because when you shut down the southern border, they figure out a way to enter in a different way. But what they choose to do, they will fly into Canada and just cross over through the states, because that border is literally unsecured. OK, and as American citizens, we didn't even know it was a problem until now. The sustained influx of illegal aliens has profound consequences on every aspect of our national life, overwhelming our schools, lowering our wages, reducing our housing supply and raising rents, our hospitals, draining our welfare system and causing crime. Facts. OK, and this is what we're dealing with. And this is what we're dealing with. Now, gang members, okay, smugglers, human traffickers, and illegal drugs and narcotics of all kinds are pouring across our borders and into our communities. Now, last fiscal year, the Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, apprehended more than 21 pounds of fentanyl at our borders, enough to kill more than 4 billion people. And that's crazy. Now, it is estimated that the federal officials are only able to seize a fraction of the fentanyl smugglers across the southern border. Now, these drugs kill tens of thousands of Americans each year, including 75,000 deaths per year is attributed to fentanyl alone. Now, more Americans are dying from fentanyl overdose each year than the number of Americans lost in the entire Vietnam War. And that's crazy. So now we understand what the terrorists was all about. Because if you want to really understand, the Mexican government and the Canadian government had to, for those tariffs not to kick in, they had to come to a form of agreement. And I will go ahead and just, finish the reading, and then I will talk to what the solutions was. Now, building on the past, President Trump continues to demonstrate his commitment to ensuring U.S. trade policy serves national interests. As president, Trump is the first in terms of the trade policy in a component for national security. So he's made our trade policy a critical part of his administration. Now, President Trump promised in November to sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada 5% tariffs on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. Now, this tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl and illegal aliens, stop this in our country. So we understand now that this was a threat to national security. We understand now that this had nothing to do with, taxes and a trade war, okay, or anything like that. This is a threat to our national security. And Trump came with receipts in the email during his first term as president of the United States. President Trump established the President's Committee on Combating Drug Addiction and the Opioid Crisis and declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency. President Trump also has a long record of putting America first on trade. In his first term, President Trump successfully used threats on Mexico to help secure our southern border. And when our national security was threatened by global oversupply of steel, aluminum, President Trump took swift action to protect America's national security by implementing tariffs on imports of these goods. Now, in response to China's intellectual property, and this is the part that gets me. In response to China's intellectual property thefts, forced technology transfer, and other unreasonable behavior, President Trump acted with conviction to impose tariffs on imports from China, using that leverage to reach historic bilateral economic agreement. So they came up with a plan and they came up with an agreement then, and they will now. Okay, because our intellectual property is crazy, because they'll come to our universities, everything that we have over here, take it back over there and master it. And then they'll be, the front runners in terms of the technology. Now, in closing of this particular article or email from the White House, President Trump leveraged tariffs to successfully resolve national security concerns with Colombia, swiftly reaching an outcome that prioritized the safety and security of the American people and the sanctity of our national borders. So now when they talk about terrorism, see that it's a little different. OK, it was a threat to our national security, and he's used the tariffs as leverage to create change, because Mexico and Canada, they spoke to the president. And in the final hours of these 25% tariffs being implemented, they came with an agreement. And the agreement is that Mexico, we southern border. OK, we got Trump promised to build a wall, and, the Democrats will clown him, and he didn't get his wall built, and, he was going to pay for it. OK, the wall is being built as we speak. and Mexico has committed, and Trump said he will basically pause to basically see if they to see if they show improve for just 1 month. They came up with an agreement that Mexico is going to send and protect our southern border with 10,000 soldiers. The Mexican army is going to protect the southern border. And the same thing for the Canadian side. Prime Minister of Canada agreed to send 10,000 soldiers from the Canadian army to combat the influx of fentanyl and illegal aliens entering the United States. So not only are they, paying for the wall, they're protecting the wall. Game recognized game. And this is a huge win on the national scale for President Trump. And we're only 2.5 weeks in. So this thing is crazy. The art of the deal, that's his thing. He liked to make a deal. And this is a big deal for Mexico to use their army to protect the United States southern border, which is their northern border, which is beneficial for them to not even have it because they don't police it, because they just want to cross over. But now you got Mexico committed. He only gave them a pause for a month, because if the influx of fentanyl and illegal immigration don't stop, then the tariffs will kick in. OK, and then sometimes there's a method madness, because yes, we do have car making plants in Mexico. But if there's some tariffs, then maybe we can open the American plants that they left dormant, that are ghost towns, and start those factories back up. OK, Canada, large volume of our imported goods is petroleum, oil. Think about it. He already said drill, baby, drill. So if Canada does not show improve, if they don't send 10,000 soldiers to our border to protect the influx of illegal immigrants coming into the country and the deadly drug fentanyl coming to the country, and then Trump puts the 25% tariffs on their goods and services, he already campaign promise. He already said drill, baby, drill. We got our own oil. We are self-sufficient. We don't need them. They need us. Really got to have these conversations, because like I said, he's a deal maker, and this is a big win. But when you look at the mainstream media, when you look at the news, they're going to spin it in an entirely different situation, create scenarios, and pretty much have you, just looking in the wrong direction. But since we are smart, since we understand for the first time in our lives, we can't literally trust the mainstream media because they have a script that they have. OK, we can actually take the deep dive and read the information ourselves, because all this is public information. I just read the fact sheet from the White House. I sent the email to my contact and they sent it back, and they pretty much wanted me to, talk to the people because of the influence on my channel. And we're talking about, maybe getting a check for being a publicist for the president. OK, and that would be a beautiful black job, being a publicist for the sitting president, Donald Trump, to make it make sense and get plain. Because like I said, they got 1 month to show and prove. And then China did not commit. So as we speak, China has a 10% tax on its incoming items, and the news media is spending it, are going to retaliate and all of that. So it's kind of like, OK, so on Temu, instead of an item being $10, it's going to be $12. We could care less. Things are so, we just figure it out. But we have to understand one nation under God, and we have to be committed for this country to be, domestic tranquility, because it has the possibilities to be that. But if we're divided, Republicans and Democrats, and we're warring against one another, it will never be. This is why there has to be a sovereign group of people outside of the scribes and the Pharisees, the Democrats and Republicans in these days, and literally be willing to go against what they believe and want to do just to make it make sense. And this is what I'm doing right now, because in light of the politics and what's going on in the world, we're here in America are seeing, plane crashes and, helicopter crashes. And there's been a whole lot of incidences that happen. But I want to focus particularly on the Black Hawk helicopter crashing into the American Eagle plane from American Airlines into the Potomac, because having, conversations in the back rooms, they're literally saying that that helicopter was used as a missile, literally blow up an American plane. Now, you're not going to hear this on the mainstream media because sometimes it doesn't mention out. A lot of times, you have the conspiracy theorists and things like that, but you have to scrutinize the evidence at hand to make it make sense. So for us to make it make sense, we got to understand. I know I'm not the only one, and I'm speaking on the Black Hawk helicopter crashing into the American Eagle jet. OK, I know I'm not the only one. Or the helicopter, and we're talking straight politics today. This is politics. Just go directly into that airplane like a heat-seeking missile. And you had 3 American pilots aboard and driving the helicopter. And then one thing that President Trump, in terms of from a perspective, I got to make it make sense. When you talk about the DEI being associated with this crash, and I'm running damage control right now for the president, because the aviation has admitted that in their towers, they are backlogged and they're limited. They literally had a call off that day. OK, now I'm sure that they could do the job. But when you make the standards a little lower, OK, you take away merit, then you would just get individuals that's just looking for a job, and it might not be their dream job. OK, because I heard the audio, and some of you may have, and it was just a simple, Roger, the helicopter's name, whatever it was. He basically said, do you see the plane? In layman's terms. And the response was yes. And then next thing you know, crash. So somebody dropped the ball somewhere, because if I speak to you and I'm working in the tower, I can say, OK, do you have eyes on the plane, in flight, plane coming in, so can you see it? And you tell me yes. I have to be under the assumption that you do your job and maneuver and make sure that you don't crash to this airplane in the air. Oh, it was no turning, let's miss it. It was no a clip. It looked like it was directly and intended. And I'm going to have to use, put on my investigative hat and speak to you today and just really pose a scenario, not a conspiracy, but a theory. OK, and sometimes theories become theorems, in time. So the theory is there were 2 male soldiers from the Army, and then there was a female. OK, female has been identified. I'm not going to say her name, but she is clearly a member of the LGBTQAI, formerly known society. OK, and President Trump, as president, much changed the game. OK, he took away, their identity. OK, if you male and female, that's it. OK, and he put a mandate, and I saw the email, and it said by Monday, February 3rd, you move all pronouns from your emails or from your business cards or anything like that. And then you look at this plane, you had a female. OK, clearly a member of the LGBTQ society. OK, and all members of the LGBTQ society, contrary to popular belief, they create the pronouns because they want to recognize any and everybody. OK, and this is why Black America has disassociated itself with all these ethnicities and all these programs and organizations, because our race is our race. You guys are just pretty much playing and doing what you want without really no thought. So by her being a member of the formerly known LGBTQAI society, and which doesn't exist anymore, because if you didn't know, one of those executive actions that he signed was to actually cancel Gay Pride Month. So there will not be a pride in 2025. Okay, that Project 2025 is real. Okay, y'all thought he was playing. Okay, so in this particular situation, you got two males. Okay, and then when you look at the military, military is like fraternal. It's like, college boys. Okay, you got these two white guys on a plane with a female. On Monday, you're going to have to remove your pronouns, whose identity was just taken away. And as a man, I'm not saying that this happened, but it's just a theory that maybe they pissed her off. Maybe they were clowning her. Maybe they asked her, who are you? What are you? What's your pronoun? Ha 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 ha. Playing games with her, because it's a bit strange for it to be three individuals, two heterosexual males and one female that was a member of the formerly known LGBTQAI. Okay, because they showed her her pictures. Okay, she's partying, she's hanging out with the pride, and she's masculine. She got a masculine appeal. And then her email basically had a pronoun on it, her, she, her, or something like that, in which we, you're either male or female according to the Trump administration. And it's in agreement with the book of Genesis as well. God made male, he made female. But one of those executive actions that the president did sign was we're only going to be recognized male and female. And if you didn't know, Gay Pride Month has been canceled. And as of yesterday, all pronouns need to be removed off government devices, all government devices. She's one of those members. And I'm thinking, it's just a thought, just a theory in my head, maybe they pissed her off. Maybe she, as a female, got so emotional because President Trump's administration just took away her identity. Whatever she was a week ago, by Monday, you're not going to be that anymore, because you got to remove all those pronouns. And in the last 8 years in the Obama administration, and in the last 4 years of the Harris Biden administration, you guys were celebrated, invited to the White House, partying. A black man in a sequence dress heels kissed Biden's hand. And on that same gay homosexual pride party at the White House, you had the Christian artist Kirk Franklin dancing, humping, pumping, and gyrating on stage. Think about that. But then now, all of a sudden, what you was, you not no more. Your pronouns been taken away. Your identity has been taken away. And then you are being put on the plane with two white boys. And when I say white boys, no disrespect, those good old boys. They don't just have a problem with blacks, niggers. They don't just have a problem with the Mexicans, the Spics. They don't just have a problem with the Jews, the Semites. They got a problem with everything that's not like them. So I'm saying, what did they do or say to her for this situation to happen? A Black Hawk helicopter, Army helicopter in training, used as a heat-seeking missile to crash into an American Eagle jet owned by American Airlines, to kill 67 people and to kill the three individuals on the helicopter. Now, just say like if she was suicidal. Okay. This is why when they say love your neighbors, you love yourself, you got to love yourself, because if you're suicidal, you will be willing to take your life and everybody else's life with you just because you're mad and upset. There is an old African proverb that somebody will burn the whole village down because their feet is cold. Think. But for this situation to happen, it made me really think. I really thought about it. And it's just a theory. Okay, we will never know, because everybody is, not one life was saved. And this is how we know that it was a direct impact. The explosion was huge. A direct impact, not a mayday and turn and clip it. Oh, a hit and miss, or it was direct, as if this was deliberate. And for her to be on that plane with those two white boys. Okay. And when I say white boys, it's not disrespect. I'm just meaning the good old boys, because when the white boys hang out with themselves, you know, they say anything and everything under the sun. Okay. I know we're niggers. I know the Mexicans are spics. I know the Jews are semi. Okay. Because in their minds, if it ain't white, it ain't right. And I guarantee you that those two support and voted for Trump. And I'm sure she, by being a member of the LGBTQ LMNOP society, formerly known, and being a individual that used pronouns, I'm sure she voted for Harris. So just that alone, you know, is enough for conflict. Okay, just by your candidate losing is enough for conflict. But the president, first week in office, said, "You not you no more. We're going to take your identity. We're going to take your pronoun. We're going to take your pronoun." They just logged on. My earphones just went blank, but we good. They're going to take your identity. They're going to take your pronouns. You're not who you are. Whether you are a female dressed like a male, you're going to have to be identified as a male. Okay. If you got a any or outie, you got a wee, PP or cuckoo, that's what you're going to be addressed as. But for the presidential election not to go the way that you want to go, and then the sitting president just pretty much repealed, replaced, and took away all of the things that the Obama administration implemented, and in the last 4 years, the Biden-Harris has implemented. And their excuse, but their reasoning is why, because of the Constitution. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And it's crazy how the Bible is used for righteousness strategically when you want to do what's right. But this is why the scribes and the Pharisees are who they are. The Pharisees were hypocrites. So you had individuals judging people, making rules about people, but who's judging them about ways? Who makes who better than who? Sin is sin. But I can understand the frustration. I can understand, you know, the hurt. I can understand the pain. So clearly, this situation, I'm speaking on the Black Hawk helicopter crashing into the American Eagle flight over the Potomac, when the third member of the crew in the helicopter happened to be a female who used pronouns and who's a member of the LGBTQ, formerly known LGBTQ LMNOP society. And as of yesterday, a mandate went out from the Trump administration that you have to remove all pronouns from your government devices. And the Secretary of Defense, he said he's going to bring back the warrior mentality. And the only thing and only room for a female in the warrior mentality is for the warriors to have sex with. Think about that. So we getting back to the fabric of America. Okay. It's pros and cons to this, because we need a warrior mentality to protect this country. We need a president that's smart enough to use tariffs to make change, because we thought these change, we thought the tariffs, you know, they just talk about the taxes, but no, the tariffs are used as leverage, as leveraging tools. What's right? Because the tariffs were used as leverage for Canada to, if you don't want, to get taxed, then you go ahead and you send 10,000 soldiers from your army to protect our northern border of illegal immigration and the fentanyl. And same thing for you, Mexico. And they agreed to it. And they just 1 month to show and prove before anything kicks in. And that's real. So when you actually talk about the tariffs, I've seen a pundit on the news station said tariffs is just a tax. Okay. And then I'm listening to the news sit back and say, Trump's using the tariffs to do this, do that. And China's responding, to the tariffs. And I'm sitting back saying that this was a tax. then we've been suffering from domestic tariffs our whole lives. More importantly, the last 4 years, things have gotten out of control. So you telling me domestic, we've been putting tariffs been put on the American citizens? If it's a tax, think about that. It's just how they say it. So if they raise the prices on goods and services in America, if they add taxes to certain items in America, why don't the news sit back and say what they're saying right now? Oh, the Biden administration is punishing the American citizens by adding tariffs, which is taxes to the American people. Okay, so why is it when Trump tariffs as a leverage, they make it like it's a bad thing? And we come to find out through, what I read today. And if you just chimed in, make sure you go back and watch the replay, because I went through the entire White House fact sheet about the tariffs. And it's basically addressing an emergency situation, the extraordinary threat posed by illegal aliens and drugs, including a deadly fentanyl, constitute a national emergency under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So basically, it's a national security situation, and he used it as leverage to protect our northern and southern border by our friends, okay, not our adversaries. These are supposed to be our friends, but our friends are producing fentanyl and shipping it across our borders so they can actually get and kill American people. So it is what it is. So, but it's gonna have to have a conversation down the road, because it is what it is. So we got to really understand what's going on in the world today. And if we're not willing to do our due diligence and challenge status quo, challenge the mainstream media, start reading for ourselves, because they told me if you want them to if you want to play them and you don't want them to know anything, put it in writing, because a lot of us don't read. Okay, because knowledge is power. So we can't just go by what they say and what they tell us. We can't do that. We can't do that. Okay, we got to basically be strong enough to, believe in, what we believe in, and to support what we support. So we got to do our due diligence to, peel the layers back and find out what's really going on, because these tariffs are bad. Actually, somebody put in the comments, I like the tariffs, especially if it's being, leveraged, in a situation to where it's to make better. The man's his mantra is what? Make America great again. And he's doing what he's doing. He's doing what he's doing. It is what it is. And so let me see. Kevin Jackson put in the comments, this brother is easily tracked. Look over to, let me see what DEI. Okay, well, DEI is nothing but a form of affirmative actions. Okay. DEI is nothing but a form of affirmative actions and equity and inclusion. But I agree with the president that it's supposed to be on merit. Okay, because it was a time where, especially being a black man, we had to be better than everybody else. Okay, we had to be able to speak the language and connect and get in positions of power. Okay. But then the DEI, the homosexual male, the lesbian female, the females. And then when you get the people in that you want, there's people in high places that's going to actually control and manipulate them to do what they want them to do. The difference between a moral black man, he's not going to do anything against his morals. And we don't care how much you're going to pay us. It is what it is. Okay. And DEI should not have ever even been a thing, because it should be based off merit. It should be based off of our talent. It should be based off, our moral turpitude, not just let's just put a person in office because or in that position of power, because we are seeing quality go down. Clearly, I'm not saying the helicopter crash had anything to do with DEI, but there was a day and time where a female would not have been in that helicopter. It would have been 3 men with camaraderie, with love, doing what they needed to do. But somehow this diversity, equity, inclusion not only put a female in there, but you put a female from we don't know if she's a LBGTQ or whatever. Okay. But she clearly was a part of that society. And all of a sudden, the helicopter was used as a heat-seeking missile to destroy and kill 67 people with the people involved on the helicopter. So I'm saying as a man, sometimes women do not need to be in situations where men are. I'm just being honest with you. I don't think a woman, and this is personal opinion, I don't think a woman should be on the front lines in type of war. Why would you want to do that? Just think about it. As a man, I don't want to go out on the front line and shoot and kill the enemy. Do that. Why would a woman want to do it? But just imagine if we're on an assignment on a 6-week tour, we got 3 women, 60 men. The 60 men is going to be fighting to see who's going to sleep with them women. Them women are going to get pregnant. Okay. Them women are going to get pregnant. So let's just stop with the shim. Let's stop playing and let's just keep it brutally honest. There are places that women should not be where men are. Okay. Women should not be in a locker room with men. Okay. Women should not be able to, be in places where men are, because when women come around, the men start acting a bit strange, because when we got an itch, we want to scratch it. And then she's looking at us like a piece of meat, and she gets the chance to pick who she wants to sleep with. And then it causes problems with everybody else. And I'm just speaking from, a real perspective from the life that I've lived. Anytime that there was a woman around men, it became confusing, and God is not the author of confusion. Okay. And it became an issue. Okay. Because heterosexual men, we love women. Okay. Heterosexual men will sleep with women. Okay. If you got on an army base with these heterosexual, bringing back the warrior mentality, and you got these females with these, curves and hips and breasts, and man, it's going to be some sex going on. And then as soon as you start doing that, that's a threat to national security. So I'm not saying that they can't be the best that they can be, but a man and a woman, we're different. A woman can't do what a man could do. And a man could do everything that a woman could do other than have a menstrual cycle and get pregnant and birth a child. But anything outside of that, it's like I said, God knew what he was doing. It is us human beings that are trying to change it. I can do anything a man could do. Why would you tell your daughter that? Because she can't. You can't tell me. Listen. Okay. It's time for men to stand up for righteousness. Okay. And just because you're a man just because you're a male does not make you a man. You have homosexual men out there, were writing the scripts and writing the speeches and talking points for Harris. And this is why she lost, because homosexual men are more cattier than women. Anytime alpha males been around homosexual men, it's like us being around a disruptive female that we will kick out of our circle. And this is why it's rare to have heterosexual men that have homosexual friends. Now, and if you are heterosexual, you have homosexual friends, then you're literally either a closet homosexual or what we call a beta male. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, there's a hierarchy in manhood. Okay, there's pride. This is why you can have black men smile through the cries of what's going on right now, because what you see as something that's going to be detrimental to society, we see this as an opportunity to get back in line. Okay. With the immigration things going on, feel for you. Sorry, not sorry. Because who looked out for us? They were, pillaging and beating us and stop and frisk and the 94 crime bill, locking us up and doing all of these things prior to Rodney King. Nobody was looking out. When they 94 crime bill, who was looking out for us? Nobody. So now that, they're going after illegal immigration. Now they're trying to, right the wrongs of the past. With empathy and empathy. We're not going to, support what they're doing, but we're just going to stand back because we do care, because we're human. But we know without a shadow of a doubt, if the roles were flipped, the Mexicans will be having meetings. The Latinos will band together and they will be searching and seeking and getting every black man out of the hood, out of the community, because that's what they do. They're what we call tribal. Okay. Now in the state of Missouri, somebody hit me with a text and said that in Missouri, they paying bounties on illegal immigrants. And I was like, that's a lie. Okay. Here we go. They sent me that government link again. Okay. See, when you got people in high places and you still got those clearances, I mean, we're privy to information, but it's declassified information. It's just information that's, has not hit the airwaves and that they won't use. So in the state of Missouri, which is a Missouri Compromise, of slave state who wanted to be a slave state, and a lot of slave states do have this on their books. The state of Missouri is paying, and listen to me, $1,000 for just reporting an illegal immigrant. Not the capture, not the seizure, not the deportation, but just to point them out. $1,000 in the state of Missouri. And think about that. If the roles were flipped, if they were paying $1,000 to show the authorities, ICE, where the blacks were, I'm sure they will be, like I said, and this is what separates us. And this is why I'm so glad that Kendrick Lamar won those 5 Grammys on that song, They Not Like Us, because we're different. We don't thrive off of the demise of individuals. We just want our own. So we would not do anything like that. But we know everybody will be participating in the rounding up of the black man. And where do you get data from? How do you think the sheriffs came into fruition? That's what they were doing. They had bounties out on blacks, on escapees, on the slaves. This is how the whole entire sheriff organization came into fruition. Searching, seeking out, finding blacks and getting paid for them, rounding us up. Think about that. But we're not running to Missouri. Oh, we about to up. I could do 10. I could report 10 migrants a day and get 10 racks a day. That's not what we do. You know why? Because we're close to God. Okay. And we're close to God, and, we're from the tribe of Judah. So we have the blood of the Messiah in our DNA. And this is why J. Edgar Hoover was so afraid of the educated black man. So now that we're not Republican and Democrat, we're going to sit back and just make it make sense. Sit back and make it make sense. It is what it is. And let me see here. Let me get in these comments. So I'm about to get up out of here. Let me see here. Casper the Ghost. You sound very unhappy with life. I see you having problems with the platform. Okay, well, that's about to end very shortly. Okay. Because I'm not going to show you the set, because I'm just uploading just to be consistent. We got the Stream Deck coming. Okay, we got the 4K cam coming. Okay, so make sure you hit the the notifications, because when we go up, we gonna go up. And I'm gonna just tell you this: I'm ecstatic about life. Life is good. Okay, make money on a daily basis with crypto. Okay, got long-term investments with crypto. Okay, so, and then in the sense of the way the presidential election turned out, we see the opportunity. We see a position, we can actually, facilitate. We can fill the spots that the Democrats are going to leave void, because clearly they're going out of business. Okay. If there's no pronouns, what you going to do? If there's no identity, now they're open the door for what we call humanitarians. Okay. Now, as a black man, special ambassador to Black Affairs, Black American Affairs, the chair of presidential oversight. OK, that makes us humanitarians. We got to do right by the people. And when you are put in a selected position, you have to show and prove. OK, it's not like the elected officials just get in office and do what they say. We're talking about, in our business and making sure that everybody is OK, because we're worried about the lead these. And Mr. Mark put in there, sell out like Snoop, sell out like Snoop. So, Mark, I'm talking to Mark. Do you really think Snoop Dogg from Long Beach Insane Crip, and I'm Mark from Long Beach Insane Crip, okay, one of the most recognizable human beings on the planet, one of the, I would say probably the last 20, 30 years, the most, I wouldn't say recognized, but the most influential person to bring up the level of black men. Snoop is into human engineering in a good way. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've actually, played a role in the beginnings of this human engineering. And when we say human engineering, okay, when I was coming up, there was a Cub Scouts and, baseball and all of this stuff and football. But then we got too good. They took away the affirmative actions. Okay, you had to get 700 on the SAT. You had to have a 3.5 GPA to get into a UC or whatever the case is. And the selection process was different. You just didn't qualify. Okay, so back in the 2000, I would say 5, 6, 7, I could be corrected. Some of Snoop's people came to our charter, to our organization. We was the Packers, South Bay Packers, out of Dina. And Snoop wanted to start his own football league called the Snoop Youth Football League. And, it was out the gate. When you hear things out the gate, it's like, what's Snoop doing, man? He's on tour, and then we sat down, we started having these meetings, and we could vote. And it was unanimous that we're going to support, and needed to find a location. And we identified Harvard Park here in LA. And if you did not know, that's the Six Deuce Brims, which is a blood gang in LA. And as a kid, this is where I played baseball. Okay. They had one of the strongest little league organizations, learned how to swim at the park, Cub Scouts at the park, flag football, the whole nine. So we decided, to go into the community and talk to the people because we needed them to agree or allow us to use the facility because we identified it. And I'm talking to Mark, who says a sellout like, which, come on, bro, keep it real. Now, I'm from South Central Los Angeles, Crenshaw High School. So let's get back to the story. So we had these meetings, and Snoop being an insane Crip. And I'm saying this because this makes him from the street. Okay. He's not some square, just happened to grow up in Long Beach, heavyweight. Okay. He's a heavyweight, and anybody with them, with Snoop, rose with the tide with them, doing easing. Okay. So we having these meetings, and these bloods was in the meeting, and they was talking about, how are you going to have a Snoop Dogg a Crip? And we like, it's a safe haven when it comes to sports. Is he going to be coming up here? We're like, no, we highly doubt that he will come up here. But if he does come up here, we're going to open arms and welcome him because of the money that they're bringing to the community and how our youth locally is going to benefit from this. And then somehow, some way, we got it to pass, and it is what it is. The first year of the Snoop Youth Football League. And since then, there's been over 50 professional football players right now. Okay. And I don't even know, but somebody's to do the documentary because there's hundreds of college graduates who got full ride scholarships. Okay. And I coached the SoCal Falcons for like 3 years, and just on the inaugural team alone. Okay. We was pretty much middle of the road because you had Compton Vikings that was strong. You had the Generals that was strong. You had Jefferson, Jeff. These guys were strong, and we were pretty much middle of the road. And on that middle of the road team, just on that team alone, Greg Ducray, full ride, cornerback, University of Washington. Anthony Jefferson, full ride, UCLA. Hayes Pollard, full ride, USC. Christopher Glove's son, full ride, Northern Colorado. And the other ones, these are the ones I stayed in contact with, but the others, I'm sure there's others, but these are just 4 men that I just mentioned with college degrees making over $100,000 a year. And this man is calling Snoop sellout. This is what we call human engineering. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, Mark, and no pun intended, Mark, Snoop Dogg has done more for the black community than any human being ever. More than Dr. King, more than Malcolm X, more than any president, more than anybody. Okay. And I have to be honest with you because this is a fact. Okay. Because these human beings are running around doing what they're doing. And this was back in the inaugural year. But I'm not mentioning, the transition monthly basis. And when Snoop performed at the crypto.com first annual crypto, okay, there's backdoor meetings and conversations being had about, making the program free. It's very expensive to play football. Giving the youth wallets of crypto to pretty much start to grow their wealth as youth. Okay, the championship games are being played at the stadium that's shared here in Los Angeles between the Chargers and the Rams. Think about that. I remember when Lusinger High School was the flagship field, for the Snoop League. Now it's SoFi Stadium, the best stadium in the world. Okay, state of the art, hands down, here in Inglewood, California. So when people like Mark say a sellout like Snoop, you really don't understand, because human beings that can actually have a seat at the table. Now, the sellout is you have a seat at the table and you're promoting and supporting everything against your people. But by Snoop performing at the first annual crypto award on the inauguration weekend, not for Trump, but for this organization, was Snoop using his power and influence to pretty much carve out some equity for the community, because whatever deals are made behind these closed doors is going to trickle down to the community. And I guarantee you that. This is why I do what I do. So I wouldn't say sell out. I would say buying in, because a sellout is the slave that's on the plantation. Massa, we sick, sir. Okay. And then when you see his brother man who's got an education, who know how to read and write, can ride a horse, and Massa trusts him, you got this slave calling him a sellout because he back there chucking and jiving, back there drinking the mint julep, getting drunk, smoking a pipe, no shoes on, uncivilized. So we as people, we got to learn how to, make necessary adjustments and come together and understand what the game is, because the game is chess, not checkers. And you said sell out like Snoop. So I can't sell out of anything unless I sold my soul. I'm not even buying into it. I'm pretty much organizing as artisan independent, as a special ambassador to the current administration, to pretty much provide presidential oversight to make sure that these next 4 years be the best 4 years that Black America has ever had. Mark, you're looking at a better Black America TV, a better Black America. Think about that. The mission statement is where we seek solutions and resolutions to create a better world, because if the Black community got in position of power, if the Black community changed its hoods and barrios to communities with recycling its dollars, with healthy food, with grocery stores, with banking, with no crime, with, no gang banging. When I say no gang banging, that's the next move. Okay. Because the gangs will become fraternities and they will compete in different ways other than shooting and killing. And this is coming out of the mouth of a Black man. So when you talk about a sellout, this is what they tell the slave or the individual that's stuck in that crab bucket. Oh, you going to get out of this bucket? You a sellout. Yes. Sellout, because I'm buying into a better way. I'm buying into a new experience. I'm buying in to the change that Obama talked about, the first Black president. Now, why isn't he a sellout by going to Jimmy Carter's funeral and sitting next to Donald Trump and having conversations? Where is the smoke for that? They're all buddy, all of that. So why Barack Obama not a sellout? Okay. Think about that. Oh, he's not a sellout because he made the rainbow something powerful. Oh, he's not a sellout because he wanted to, performs transgender surgeries, and a boy could be a girl could be a boy. He included homosexuals, and he added letters to the LBGTQAI. That's not a. Think about it. So why isn't Barack Obama sellout sitting there being buddy with Trump? Oh, because he did everything that he could do to, disenfranchise the black community. He did everything he could do to change humanity to whatever it wanted to be. Think about that. Let's really have this conversation. There's no way a black man could be a sellout. No way I can be a sellout. There's no way Snoop could be a sellout. Okay. You can only sell out if you sell your soul. And my soul belongs. And this is why I do what I do, to help humanity. Okay. More importantly, my people. Okay. Because Mark called me and Snoop a sellout, but this sellout right here is going to lobby, the Trump administration to sign a constitutional amendment, take the criminalization clause off of the Constitution, which will end slavery in 2025. Is that a sellout? No, nigga, that's gangster. And I'm talking to Mark. So with that being said, man, I appreciate y'all. It's too many comments to comment on. It is what it is. Fun Speed High Boo back at you. It is what it is, man. And I appreciate y'all. Hit that like notification, hit the subscription. And if you just jumped on, go back and watch it over, because we talked about the President Trump's big victory, because my black job is to be the publicist to Donald Trump, meaning, make it make sense, have these conversations and basically tell the people what he was really trying to say. And when it comes to the tariffs, okay, big win for Trump, because Canada and Mexico agreed on 10,000 army troops or 10,000 soldiers to the northern and southern border to protect America. Now he got them protecting America. 10,000 army, 10,000 army in the south for Mexico, 10,000 in the north protecting this country and fighting our fight against illegal aliens, human trafficking, and the fentanyl epidemic. And the terrorists is a thing that the media got it misconstrued, because the terrorists is pretty much addressing an emergency situation, okay, that poses a threat of illegal aliens and drugs, including fentanyl, constitutes a national security, the international emergency economic powers. Okay. And if you just chimed in, read through the whole email, and it just makes sense. Okay. Why President Trump used tariffs as leverage. With that being said, man, hit that like, hit that notification. We're going to figure this thing out. It is what it is. Let me see. I appreciate you on how you make your own observations. Absolutely. Because God's people shall not perish due to the lack of knowledge. I'm going to leave y'all with that. Have a good day, man. Bushan Glover signing out. Better Black America TV on YouTube. Peace out. Full day.